the 23rd of March, then you might need a code. That they give you a code because obviously they're trying to stop fraud, so you have to get a code. That's which they post to you, which is why it's what I was moaning about yesterday, because I should have had about 4 or 5 grand in my bank account, which would have been great. I'd had a party, but and also, to be fair, I'm still earning income, so it's not absolutely kosher. But there you go. You got to play the game.
No, of course, because as I said, I was only conscious that I've been talking to a few people. I was thinking, can I be furloughed? Then I thought,
yeah, you can. And the other one is make sure you put your wife on the thing, so that helps your 2 salaries. So she gets 12 grand, you get 12 grand. That's 24 grand, and then you just do directors dividends, which you pay 19% on.
Yeah.
So twice a year, put 20 grand in the bank or whatever it is.
Yeah. I haven't done the dividends though, but obviously this pay thing, definitely I will consider, because I have 2 employments. You see, because I had other consulting company, obviously, which I'm not doing anything right now. I'm also an employee there as well. But when I spoke to this HMRC, they were not clear about whether I can furlough 2 employments, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I think you can. If you've got an accountant, then obviously I will work with them. My accountant's done it for me. I didn't do anything. They've organised it all for me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So I actually did the form. It seems like very quick form, but it's just like the system HMRC that the process is not clear there. Whether if you have 2,
you'll need a number, a payroll number, a code, which then enables you to access the code. And once you do that, they'll release the money. It's just a security check.
I have it. I have the online activation code, right?
Yeah, I don't, but I've sent off for it. But if you've got it, then you just put it in and you get the money.
Yes, they said it takes a week. I did it last Tuesday for the current one, and I'm just kind of hoping whether should I go to whether I can also follow other company or just I leave it only for my wife, which was there.
Well, what I would do is I would do both. See what happens.
I don't think there's a problem at all because obviously 2 are different companies. There is no relationship, and there should not be any way to do that. My accountant somehow thinks differently that it's not right. Then I said,
there you go. Yeah, all good. So listen, what I did is I had a word with Presto this morning about his business, which is obviously retrospectively what happens apparently with Oracle and the big boys is they go in there, they put a licensing agreement together, they sell loads of licenses, many thousands of licenses into the big companies. They say, look, don't worry about it, we'll come back in a couple of years and just carry on. So they carry on a license agreement, and then after 2 years they go in. And they've obviously got AI and all the rest of the stuff to look at it. And then they find that they've been using other things or whatever. And then they put a massive bill onto them. Yeah. And it's that massive bill that is the problem. Now, the lawyer that does all of that is a partner of Nick's. And what I said, you're a startup, gave him the background of what you're doing. And he said, well, I'm sure we can arrange a meeting where you can have a discussion. But he might be somebody you want to have on board because he's absolutely brilliant in this area of licensing agreements and everything else and does a lot with startup companies.
Right.
So I'm a great believer in getting the right people around you going forward. Yeah.
No problem. I think this is absolutely important to get the right steps in, at least in foundation stuff, right? Because
you've got so many things to deal with. You've got to deal with licensing agreements, people, you do your best, but there's guys that do it for a living and have made millions of pounds out of doing it. You need to get your staffing set up, you need to get your company structure set up for a sale and acquisition and so on and so forth. So now is the time that you start to get the team around you. You don't mobilize them with lots of money, but you use their advice. And as you grow, you make sure everything is structured in the right way.
Yeah, I think that's very important. Actually, that is totally understand. I just realized, the conversation, 2 conversations you had with me. I just made some notes about it. That is so crucial that you did touch base about very, very important things about just not to go with people just like that. Just because they have been ex-IBM or ex-Google or maybe someone else, right?
There's so many bullshitters in the world, trust me. And the best-selling technique, somebody goes, oh yeah, I know someone who's got a family fund thing. I know someone else is an accelerator program. Well, which accelerator program? Well, Columbus University. Well, that means you'll be very lucky to get more than £1 million on that. So that's not what you want. Do you know what I mean? But they throw it in a way to make themselves sound great and good and all the rest of it. And then suddenly he comes out with, well, I can set all this up for you and you can do a road show and all that, but it's going to cost you 15 grand to do it, and that's what he's after. Yeah.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah. So what I did is like I sent a good email for him as well based on the lines what you mentioned. Just let me know what you can think of the easy wins, and also I need to know some information like that. But I sent an MOU for now, which is not legally binding at all.
No, absolutely, no,
And
absolutely.
then we can able to talk about in 14 days how the commercial agreement will be, like a trial
Yeah, I
basis.
think, yeah, exactly that. For me, if he starts bringing some money in through the door, then you have a different conversation. At the moment, it's just talk, and talk is cheap. So, don't worry about it. Just get on with it. I think that's cool.
Results will be proven, right? Basically, not with the talk, right? I think I'm just now very, very cautious about, like I said in the message, that I'm just trying to filter out the people, because I think in this noise right now, it's really great to actually understand who is this, right? Who can actually stay in the business. Obviously, everyone has a different expectations, and everyone can look at different options now, right? At least I don't want to have everyone like just get on the boat and then we just do it together, right?
No. You make sure you have the right people without question.
And so one thing on my plate right now is this guy Ian right now. I think I told you last time about him, right? I need to get back to him very clearly about, already he's doing some other job right now as a VP of sales. And he's been, I think I need to get back to him about exactly what is that he can offer. And also your point was very valid about not to just start about the equity conversation, just about the performance-driven performance-driven pay, or perhaps maybe an option for him to use a stock option, right? Not something like that. I'll structure the conversation that way, so at least he will see that he may be, I don't know, he might be interested, and also he might be not motivated, but at least I need to give him that thread. And again, this is how I would like to structure it, right?
Yeah, that's really good. So it sounds to me like we're everything's moving forward in a good way. So that's the important.
Exactly, because as I said, always have been fundamentally very crucial about getting the internal team right, and also what exactly is each one is doing, and so that at least I can go outside, right? I can rely on these people. And if I don't have the right team inside, and also everyone is not consistent, then I think it will just recipe for disaster, right?
Yes. No, but don't put yourself under too much pressure. It's not.
You think?
It'll be fine. Everything will be fine. You just go. You can only do it one step at a time. That's the key to it all.
And obviously, mistakes can happen this time, and also I just want to make sure that
there'll be loads of mistakes. It's just the nature of the game. There'll be loads of mistakes, but it will all be fine. Don't worry about it.
Exactly. So I think that the two important things in my plate right now is, like I said, the other guy Munir in the US. Right? I think I need to deal this with very cautiously about how do we just smoothly iron it out, so that at least it doesn't cost a big argument or something, right? Or maybe something beyond that. I think, as you can, this is kind of my thing in my head right now. So.
You're getting there. It'll all be fine.
I think your view is. Sorry.
Go on.
Your view is not to, obviously, the email has been very clear to him that, okay, this is all has happened in terms of everyone else and also what you're contributing. I think it's always in a fair note as well, right? Like, just because you've been in the business for 10 months doesn't mean that, you're a founder or you're co-founder, or maybe you can get 50% of the company, right?
Absolutely right. That is absolutely the key to it all, without question. Otherwise, these people get too cocky,
And that's what is kind of his call about. And then I said to him that, what? Come on, that's not fair. And you're not available at all when I wanted. You're sitting in a very huge $250,000 job right now. And easygoing, and you wanted to have a easy kind of a option on A Infinity, really, that maybe you wanted to land $1 million, but it doesn't work like that, right? So you need to get your sweat and get it out of the way.
That's exactly what the situation is.
So I will keep the conversation that way as well, and maybe I think I need to be up the kind of discussion, saying that, okay, what, as discussed last time, okay, this is what it is. Let's draw the line right now. And actually, whatever happened is happened. Let me know now what is that you wanted to do going forward. And also, what is a commitment you can do? Because obviously, you're working 8 hours for someone else. And I cannot spend my evenings to explain to you, because I'm in the UK and you are in the US. And is it a fair thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think, but don't worry. You sort of you're worrying about it, and I get that. But just the way I would do it is say, look, at the moment it's early days. I'm not committing to anybody or anything until I'm clear of where we're going. Obviously, I value your time and stuff, but at the moment, let's keep the memorandum of understanding. I'm not taking it any further. I'm not signing over any equity. So I think that's the way to go, if I may say.
Okay, so not to, at least, let's be on a common page. And
no, otherwise you're going to get yourself surrounded with a load of sharks, and it's going to be difficult, and then you get into litigation, and so remember this: people are always nice when there's no money. The minute there's money on the table and there's they can see a chance, then they can be incredibly unkind. So
yes, because everyone wants to get a better part of that, right? And they don't really worry.
And just so you understand where I come from, I've got a £3.5 million house here in Chelsea Harbour, which I've got no mortgage on. I've got a property in called Manor Street that's worth about 800,000. I've got another one down at West Country about 300,000. Another one in Spain for about 300,000. I have a business, but I'll be honest with you, that I could do with more cash, a bit more revenue coming through, but I'm not really in the game to sort of get a deal for 100 million or 2 million or 3 million. Obviously, if things work well and you get a sale, then we'll both go out and have a great dinner, and I'm sure you'll be very generous. But I'm not asking for any shareholding. It's your gift. Whatever you want to give is your gift if you feel I've been valuable, and I think that's the way I want to conduct business going forward. I don't need to have equity, because I've been in places where you have equity and it never turns into anything. You can have equity of nothing, and so why bother with all that grief of getting a contract together when it could be equity of nothing? I just, let's see how the businesses are going, and then you can make decisions along the way.
No, I mean, that's very good to hear as well. I think that is, to be honest, I think no one told me about, so far, I think I've been in touch with like 8 people. And 2 of the interesting people, they didn't ask me anything about it. You are the person, obviously, we had a very small conversation, I think, right? Obviously, one of them is Alexander, and obviously he's working on the help side, and also Oris, which is a technical guy. They never asked me how much I'm getting. They said, let's get on with the work and then do the work and get in front of the customers, right?
Yeah.
Obviously you are also on the same page that obviously we didn't have much discussion before, but you are exactly in the same point that. And whereas other
I think where I will be quite helpful, and it's quite interesting with Skillify, because what I've spotted is they're all very comfortable talking about the technical issues, but they're absolutely hopeless about talking about, as we did in that workshop that you were in the other day, which is about what makes you stand out and makes you unique. Yeah. And that actually, by the way, is something we have to do with you. We have to do it. But the bottom line is that once you start talking about that to people, they get very nervous, because you're asking them to go into a place that they don't know. But it's so important that you do it, because it's the way, when you do a pitch deck and you're going for money, when you have clear vision, then you win. And as I said in that lecture that I gave, is the way you win on a pitch deck is you talk about the market and the issues with the market. You then have your idea of how you solved it, and then you do the benefits. That's how you pitch and get your money. And that's what people need to do. And a lot of people just don't understand that bit of the game.
I remember the 4 north, the east, and south, 4 directions you mentioned about. I think I need to do that as well, for sure. I think
we can do that at a later stage. At the moment, I think it's pretty clear that you've got a good idea. You're very focused. You're a one-product company at the moment, in the risk area, and that needs to change. And we need to intellectualize a little bit more about what you actually do. Because I think there's a cleverer way of describing simply as to what you do. Yeah. But I don't know what the answer is. But it's something around an enabler. It's about the word I like a lot is sentiment. I like sentiment. That I know that's a generic in your industry, but sentiment is a clever positioning. Yeah,
it's very, very important nowadays, I think, right? Because if you don't have a sentiment, if you don't understand sentiment, the churn. People will churning out.
The problem is, it's a generic in the industry, so everybody talks about sentiment, and everybody knows what it is in the industry. The reality is, we've got to find another way of getting them to understand that's what it is.
This is where I think you can come in and you can give me a right name.
to be honest with you, names I don't worry about. It's more about the brand, the communication, the product, the way it's sold, the markets, focus on the customer. You know, all of those things are critical in business success.
Yeah.
You know?
No, you know what, Neil, you just mentioned very thing interesting right now. But I think I just wanted to make it something very important, right? Because you did mention that, however, you're not interested about, you know, obviously taking part of that, but however, you're appreciative of, you know, what we can do, right? So I think your value, I can see that, as I say, you know, you're definitely coach as well as, you know, fixing the problems very quickly, which I see that, and also being very massive help to people like us who are running the business and also at the times of need. And like I said, I just wanted to, of course, you know, you are doing many things. I'm cautious about your time as well. And obviously your business and also startups and everything. So how do you think, as an example, obviously you need to know also a little bit more about what we're doing, because now that you're getting a feel of, I just put you in the spot for many things, right? Our team. And because I trust you that, you know, obviously, you know, without having this confidentiality things, I said.
No, it's also very useful for me because I'm absorbing the information, which is where I'm good. If I can understand, then I can, you know, I can basically use my ambiguity in a way to sort of get you to think about things in a slightly different way. That's the gift. Yeah.
Correct. Exactly. Like I said, I want you to see the perception from other people about myself and also the business, rather than me talking to you that, okay, you know what, we are the greatest.
No,
right?
I will give you. Really, what I'm saying to you at the moment is that's where we have to get to. But what's important at the moment is I think you've got to get your ducks in line on your agreements with your staff and your surrounding staff, or your collaborative network. And then I think you've got to get your licensing agreements and your cost structuring sorted. And then you need to focus on the businesses that you're doing and deliver, because that's proof of concept or proof of value, whichever way you want to look at it. And then we're in a strong position to start to push the boat out and move forward. So I think we're a bit undercooked at the moment in getting to a position where we can start to put the foot on the gas pedal. Yeah,
exactly. So I think I need to leverage exactly what is that I can do, because obviously the times are not completely as conducive now, right? Especially with this COVID thing. And that's what I'm opening in the channels as it is now. I think going forward, if you think that obviously you've been advising me a lot on that so far, which I've seen that at least your information has been very insightful for sure. I think I can apply that into many principles and many people, right? But obviously, time to time, I think I might need that. I think this is where I think we need to think about, you know, obviously, if it's of interest for you, then we can think about, you know,
I mean, one of the things you've got to think about is the governance of the business, and the way that I do it for a company called PDA, which is it's Paul Davis and Associates. But anyway, I did all the brand. So I've been with him when he started his business, like I am here with you, and I've talked about it along the way. I've talked about branding, positioning, all of that sort of stuff, and it's been a very successful business, and it's done well. So what I do is twice a year, I go to a board meeting and he brings other people into the boards. Now, what is quite an interesting thing to think about is you clearly need yourself as the owner and the founder, and you're the main man, but you'll also need a technical officer. You'll also need a financial officer to some extent, depending on how big you grow and how you want to set that up. So you're going to have operating people on your board. I would never give anything more for the operating directors, nothing more than 10% in options. Okay, that's what I would do. A non-exec director is a really simple role to have. They are like the coaches that come in and advise. Not only that, they have connections to fix things for you, connecting you to funds, connecting you to perhaps databases, which is going to become a big part of your business, and the value of data and all of that. And maybe you have someone like me who's always looking at you in terms of how you're developing the products, the brands, the communication, the network, and all that sort of stuff. So you have a couple of those, and all you do is you have an agreement, which is that twice a year or 3 times a year, whatever suits you, we have a formalized board meeting where, we go through the accounts, we go through the issues within the business, we go through the expansion stuff or whatever, and you pay them a couple of grand, or maybe a couple of grand a meeting, or whatever it is, $4 grand a year, whatever. You put 10, 15,000 away for advice with your directors. But of course, by bringing them on the board, you've got access to them 24/7 really outside of that. So periodically you will have a difficulty, and then it will take maybe your legally minded guy who sits on your board as a non-exec director, you will spend more time with him solving that problem. Maybe it's a sales problem and an expansion problem, so therefore you'll spend more time with me, and so on and so forth. So, and I'm not saying I'm on your board, but what I'm saying is that's the way that you structure your corporate governance. So what you do well is you get information out of people really, really well, and you don't have to pay huge amounts of money. If it was a PLC business doing 100 million a year, you get 50 grand a year for doing the same thing.
I got it.
And there are a lot of guys that do that as a full-time job when they retire. They go on 5 or 6 boards, they get 20 grand a go, 150 grand, they're as happy as Larry, and they go to about 10, 15 meetings a year.
Cool.
but they've got massive knowledge because they've run corporations. They've been where my chairman he's an old guy now, but he's been with me for 10 years. He ran his own design business. Another guy that was on the board with me was managing director and CEO of Comet, the big retailers, and then he went to Robert Dias, where I worked with him to sell that. We took that on bankrupt and we sold it for 60 million quid. That's what happened there. So my success rate in being part of these things, doing what I am with you and whatever, has been astronomical. Not because I come in and say this is the way you do it. I bring out what's right for you in the market at the time. That's the key to it.
I got
so
it.
What I'm saying is, thinking of corporate governance, which I think this will be next year, or when the funding comes in, then I think you organise regular meetings, and then you organise information, and it gives you the chance to constantly be thinking about your business and how it's developing, and having another opinion, which will help you.
Okay.
So all of that stuff we can do.
You're right. You're all right, Neil? Yeah, sure. You know what? A very funny story. One guy actually still has been in my advisory capacity, but obviously he's not doing much there. He's actually partner at a PE firm, right? He did kind of. He's actually an NED for the companies like that. I asked him, what is that your expectations? And basically, he's actually being in that level. He get paid like big guys like 2,000 or something per day, right? An example. I said to him that obviously that is a PE firm paying, not me. And also he's got a very high expectation of 3% equity straight on that rate, or maybe 2% of £1,000 per day, if I can advise you 3. I mean, that was like very, very high expectation. I kind of thinking that, you're thinking as a startup, or you're thinking like a PE firm, because just because you're a PE firm experience, you should not think about, applying the same principle in here. Right? Because you're solving a million, 100,000 saving for them. That's why they're paying you 1,000 per day, right? For example. Not us.
Honestly, £1,000 a day, you've got to be absolutely a top dollar. Don't worry, I'm fine. I'm just coughing. Perhaps I got the coronavirus. It's so the most I've ever been paid for a day was with Unilever, and I was paid $2.5 grand a day for me to be involved.
I appreciate
that was a long time ago. That was a fucking long time ago.
That's really good. But I'm just giving about, my point is not about paying. That it's about, what is the value we can do, right? It's not about, obviously, what I am here, great, I've been, this kind, sometimes people are different, isn't it? I'm just very new in this game, but still, I think at a sense, you can be able to understand people and also what their, typical expectations, right? An example. So, I mean, I look for, for sure, I think, Neil, you mentioned that is definitely one angle for sure. I can look at it for sure. Why not? And also, I have definitely a good thought about, obviously having the right people in the business, right? Whether they'll be part of that, whether they'll be part of this. Title doesn't matter at the end of the day. You know what? If a person does a good job, why not? I know you've been telling me that do not give away equity for people, but still I have a very good intention to give a significant portion of it, 1/3 of the company to the committed people before the investors come in. And obviously that's very, compared to 10%, I'm just talking about 30%, right? I can do that.
But I like that because you're a good guy, but do it in options. Always do it in options, because an option means you can change it. But what it does mean, in the event that you get a massive sale, they do walk away with a fuck a lot of money. And that happened to me at Fitch. I was on share options. I was on about 4% share options on a business valued and sold at about 30 million. So I ended up with quite a lot of money, and some guys ended up with a lot of money, but they were the major investors.
No, you said that like a 2% was almost like $1 million or something, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. It was just short of $1 million, which was a house. So, it's done.
Yeah, which is very. I think what not everyone is like that. I think, especially I'm a bit cautious about this person, Ian, as well at this moment. And I think it's just like I'm just trying to see what is the best way to portray him. And maybe I need to get him, get you on the call sometime to hear what he has to say, right?
Yeah, no, with pleasure. Just say that I'm an advisor, or a friendly advisor, and I do it a lot actually. And at the end of the day, it's your business, and that's the important thing. You're the guy that's putting your neck on the line. You're the guy who's investing.
Yeah.
It is all very much, all very much in your way. So,
yeah, I mean, I get that.
So that's the way to do it.
No,
and also, Frank, while I'm talking to you now, I've got a little. It's quite funny actually. I'm doing a little bit of work for a very nice person up in Scotland, and I'm enjoying it because it's fun. It's worth a couple of grand, and I'm doing it in my spare time and stuff. So it's easy money, really. But I'm doing that while I'm talking to you, so I'm still making money while I'm talking to you. So
really, you're so productive that I can't do that. I have to do maybe make that.
No.
So I think with that,
it's only copying and pasting and getting things ready for when I've got to concentrate. I'm just preparing them.
No, I really appreciate that. I think one thing I have definitely two things I would be looking forward, Neil, is that for sure there is something I need to obviously see the people. I have a fair bit of what the people currently in my business, part-time or full-time. I would definitely like your opinion as well on them. Just without, I don't tell much about what happens, just asking the questions. I just wanted to have the impartial view, and that way at least I just almost, because I can't get my wife to be in the call just to she's also very good with people, but obviously that means that it's partial, right? So I just wanted to get at least use time to time, if there is any right interest I will just get you on just like 10-15 minutes call like that, just to get the right questions in front of them, what they have done, what is their interest like that. Obviously you did it last time as well, like with the other guy, right? What the question Munir asked, who is Neil, after the call, right?
Yeah, who is Neil? Yeah.
No, because he didn't know that, right? Because he was kind of cautious. Why I got him involved? Then I didn't answer the question because I don't need to. Yeah. And obviously, I can always tell him that he's kind of obviously advising me for a long time, and obviously I don't need to because you are not available to talk, and that's what happens, right?
Yeah. Good one.
And also I can. Yeah, he's also got a vested interest in the company, and also he's a kid being invested. I can do many things, right? And because I don't need to say to people that why I'm bringing anyone else. He's just very curious. Why he's just asking who is Neil, right?
It's good for them, isn't it? At the end of the day, they're not the only ones and all that sort of stuff. So and it makes them think about things, and that's the important thing, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, exactly. I think that is something I wanted to leave out there. I think I know you're in the middle of something, right? So thanks for making time. I think what I'll do is that I have a call with this guy Ian sometime later because he's in Israel. Friday's holiday for them. So I will talk to him, and maybe if possible, I'll just 10 minutes just to call in WhatsApp, maybe just say that, hey, hi, and things like that. I'll introduce to him roughly that Neil has been helping me as well before some of the things about the business, just like that. Just wanted to understand, to see each other's strengths. I just put the picture like that because already it's kind of insider, right? Just wanted to understand, because there's one funny thing I wanted to leave out, right? This guy, when he used to run a big company last year, as MD of a company, of a big NASDAQ company, he's actually using the UK company. This is exactly what he said. You have to keep it very, very confidential and also never tell this thing to him, right? And he sees that I haven't been a CEO or an MD. Obviously, I haven't done that. So obviously, he said already he's been running in that shoes. He said, what, most founders will end up doing a CEO role, which they never done, right? And why don't we do this? I have my friend who is the other billionaire of his friend, right? And let's go for him, and then we can get £1 million or £2 million, before we started, right? And I will help you to get invested tech. And so basically let's do that. And then obviously what happens is whatever you spent on the money so far, maybe an example 100,000 or 200,000, you just get extra, and then we start from zero. That is actually a no-no for sure. And the next thing is, you know what, and then what you do is that you step away and then be a, you know, kind of a, you know, chairman or something, and then let me be running the show like an MD or, you know, CEO, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, that's again no. And the third thing is that, you know, obviously let's take us, you know, good, you know, salaries, because we're not paying, you know, high salaries like 100,000 each or maybe, and we hire the right people and then we run the show. Three things like that, right? So that was kind of his take on that, because you see that, you know, it's like that. Then I said, the first thing is not happening, because obviously just because you're a CEO and MD doesn't know what we're doing. And also the next thing is also that you can help on that, but obviously we need to put it a right structure and everything like that. But this is kind of his intention, like you said, you know, people wanted to take over, right?
Yeah, you got it. And by the way, if you notice, all the way down the line, he's paying himself a load of money, and that isn't what you want with the guys that are going to make equity, earn the equity. you either take the salary and not the risk, or you take the risk and you take the upside of the risk, and it's known as sweat equity and all the things that you've heard before. But it tests you whether you're just a corporate guy needing 100 clicks a year, you know, which equates to, I can't remember what that is now, but £4,500, £5,000 a month. That'd be more, actually, be about £6,000 or £7,000 a month, which is all very nice. But actually, that isn't the mentality you want as an owner of a company. You want to be really, really tight on the cash. You want to pay yourself a minimum. You want to be, you know, you want to put all your efforts and all your reinvestment back into the big payday. That's what you want. And when you have a big payday, fuck me, it's a good day. It really is a good day when you get £1 million in your bank account. Fuck me, it's amazing. And then you pay 400,000 out in tax. But anyway, that aside, you know, it's a good moment. That's all.
Can you see that? And obviously, last time you did mention that the people are there. You know, they just wanted to take over, right? So this is a guy here running the business, and you just have the guts to tell him that, you know, let me run the business, right? Without having any credibility, without understanding what is technology about. It's not about the title. And also starting from zero, what does that mean? So which means that if I spend 100,000, which means that everything is just, you know, you just clear out the table and then, you know, that's all the business work is, and then start from zero and then you take 40 and I take 60. You know what? Some people doesn't have any clue. And then what happened afterwards? He just gone away and then he just kind of finished his role at MD there, and then now he picked up a role as an MD in not an MD, VP of sales in another company, telecom company in Israel still. And obviously with this situation, he just wanted to get a job. And we had started conversations in January, you know, what's going on and things like that. He's still on the case about getting investments. I said, you know, let's wait on this kind of things. And then we got back in March, and his guy said, okay, let's do something together. Why not? And obviously I said, you know, yes, sure, you've run the business, you know, operation side of it, like agreements and stuff like that. And I've got him in. And obviously I signed the confidentiality agreements and things like that. I think still the advisor agreement have to be in place. Exactly what is that I wanted to give to you, and also what is that you wanted to commit, right? And he's doing a full-time job, and this is where it is. So if you see that people will start with very, very high things that they wanted to take over, and then they will say, now his position is that, okay, now let me get some investments and then let me lead the sales, right? Head of sales or VP of sales, right? Maybe on top of that, in a big substantial equity, right?
But all of it is about money in his pocket. That's his mentality. So he is what I call an employee mentality. He's not an entrepreneur, and that's the reality.
Yes, I think he has run a business before.
Well,
I think.
You know what you do need in the business is you don't want everybody to be an entrepreneur. You need some doers in there. So you know, I'm not saying for one moment that you don't follow that through. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, but you're learning, and I think what's good about having people around that have been there and done it, and I've got people around me that have been there and done it, is they always have a very sensible head. They always understand business because they've been there themselves, you know, and they understand the game. And I think that's really valuable, you know. And so I'm very lucky. I've got two. One who's a managing director of a PLC company who's been a really good friend of mine and made a lot of money. And we went on that journey together. And the other one's John Ward, who had his own design business. And he and I worked together on many different things. In fact, I gave him a lot of work over the years. And he's there as well. And they're very supportive. They enjoy it. They've all made their money. They're all relaxed. It's all good news, you know. So that's That's the way it is.
That is exactly what is needed. I think, I mean, that path right now, obviously, it takes obviously the right people come in, people go, right? I think, in the interest of the time, I think what I'll do is I'll speak to him around 4:30 or something. If you're free up that time or 5 o'clock, let me know what time suits you. Just 15 minutes this time for sure. And it's not about, obviously it's kind of still internal person, right? Just to see, what is his clear expectations or how he wanted to get the investments, what is kind of things like that, what he has done, right? Basically.
Yeah,
And
that's fine.
if that's okay with you, and then obviously you get a fair idea of this person, is an example. And I'll just have the conversation with him then as well following.
And even if I think he's a fantastic guy, I still think you still need to give it time. You still need to find out what people are made of, because there's a lot of people out there that tell a good story but don't actually deliver it. Do you know what I mean? So. Sure. I'm not being cynical or anything. You just have to be careful. It's your business. Every time you give away something, it's it's a problem. But we need to build a team around you with the skills to do it. That's very important.
That is happening. I think I need to do that exact half an hour structure with you some stage. I'll show you in my computer. This is what I have right now. This is the people I think can stay for now. This is the people can go away. And obviously, there are other people I need for sure. Like you said about someone from legal, someone from agreements and things like that, maybe advisory side. I think if you get the power team around that, obviously that will make the team, like you said, that YC guy, right? He was in front of the powerful people, YC people. That's where the evaluation actually skyrocketed. But if you do that maybe independently in London or something, that could have been 5 million valuation, for an example. So this is where I think the power team makes a big difference. And also you need to be in the right people, right? Exactly. Who see the value of the product rather than just talking to anyone else.
I agree.
And
anyway, Raji, I've got a call coming into Angelo of all people, because I've got to get him.
He just also said about the thing. Call him and let's do that. And
because what I think with Angelo, just so that you get it, what I think is interesting about Angelo is he is sitting, I think, on a new marketing tool, which is this live studio, and I think it's going to be great for you, and I think you're going to use it more and more to get out there. What he's got to do now, we've got to get him to have more reach. So he needs to get like 1 million customers somehow. We've got to get him up to that sort of.
Yes, I did actually talk to him last time about this is a good market. You're not going out to people. Try to make it as a live show that how actually you can still do a video kind of shooting and everything virtually like he did last time, right? Give it a show.
And I think that's the thing. And again, with Skinify, not now, but when we launch it, I'm thinking maybe you've got the advertising agency there that wants. I can tell you now, they want £15,000 in order to go on social media and reach 1 million people. The trouble is that the actual the actual traction on 1 million people is something like 0.01%. So you'd be lucky to get 30 or 40 people respond to that situation. And so for me, it doesn't work, because I think when you're sending messages out there, you've got to be much more specific in the way that you're going forward, in the way that you're trying to attract the right customers. I don't like the idea of mass and blanket and just saying I reach 1 million, I'll get traction. It's about the quality of what you get.
I think that's substantially big amount, isn't it? Like 15,000, just like that. I think we don't know. I think especially these conversions, I don't know how this works, and especially this. It's a different ball game altogether, right?
But again, I think he's a good lad, and it'd be nice to build him a little bit. I got him involved with something to do with a mate of mine who owns these hostels, and we were going to do a big event, and it was all going to be done live, and it was going to be done in Barcelona and Madrid and all the rest of it, because we sort of created that idea. But of course, coronavirus has put a stop to that,
Right.
But it doesn't mean to say it's not going to come back. I think the stuff he does with you and I look at that really as him practicing and learning. And that's why I said to him, look, just go ahead with the shows. Maybe you make muck-ups. Maybe they hear us talking during the interval, but learn from it and just keep going, because the more you do it, the better you become.
Got it. I got it. I think he's a good guy. Definitely he's a good guy. And of course, you're doing a lot of support for him. Of course, I do trust him.
And also, be clear, he's doing stuff for me because he's going to do a video for me and various things. And he's going to do videos for you, because we need that backup. We need the backup of how the thing. You need to be doing quite a series of videos with him on how your platform works. You really do. Yeah.
Exactly. We need to do that as well.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot to do, my boy. A lot to do. But
I think it's always about helping each other, right? I think we can do help for him, and at the same time, he can do the favor for us. And I think it's really good. I think he's a good guy,
yeah,
and I think the message is definitely is good,
yeah.
got out. And so
Also,
let's.
we can use him to design our web our platforms and stuff like that, our web platforms, because that's what he does. But what we need to do is get into a position really where we can help him a little bit financially, because it's only fair that he gets a little bit of financial support. Because at the moment he's supported by his parents. He works in the co-op, and then he does all the rest of it, as always, in the evenings and wherever else.
I know.
But it would be nice to get him, getting a little bit of money. But on the other hand, I'm not in a position to go and spend 10 grand on doing a whole load of marketing, because we are where we are. But if China comes in, then I might well have some money there to do it. So same with you. If things start to expand with you and more license agreements come through and stuff, then it's a slightly different situation. But for you're going to have to put most of that money back into development and developing new products and new sectors. So you're never going to be flush with money when you've got a startup business.
I think this is so much. I think I've been just very, very cautious about it, right? So for sure,
Yeah.
tell me about it. It's just like
Yeah,
it's not like that. So I think whichever works for you, Neil. Maybe if it's 4:30 is okay for you, we can. If you're okay, and a WhatsApp call.
I've got a 4 o'clock, and then I'll be off in half an hour, and then I'll do a 4:30. That'll be fine.
Perfect.
And while I'm talking to you, I'm still preparing my drawings for some changes that this person wanted today.
All right. Well, sorry to interrupt. I didn't know that you're doing that. Just stop me anytime. Obviously, anytime if you think I'm just talking, you need time. Obviously, just say that now.
No. I promise you, Raj, I will, because you know that. Listen, we're in lockdown, and I had some important information for my other half, which I found out about our middle son, which is not such good news, because I'm not sure what he's been telling us about what he's doing at university is correct. But anyway, let's hope that I'm not writing what I found out when I ran Brunel University. So what he's done, just between you and I, not to be repeated, but he comes home and he goes, everything's locked down. There's no more. There's no exams. Everything's off. There's no lectures. There's nothing. There's no coursework. Nothing. And I went, I don't believe that. For fuck's sake, I don't believe that. UCL are going gung ho. London South Bank are doing, organising conferences on things. Anyway, as far as he's concerned, nothing until September of next year. So I rang them today, and basically they're doing exams now. April the 27th, they've started all of their first year exams, are all being done by all courses, yeah?
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. However, they did say that because of the lockdown, the fact that people live in different countries and so on and so forth, if they don't do the exams now, that won't be a black mark for them. But they have to do it in August. And then obviously the marks from that will determine whether they go on to the course next year. Yeah. So suddenly, from him saying there's nothing until September, suddenly there's a whole load of information he hasn't given us. Yeah. So it's really,
I think that college thing is also very interesting, because you're closely with UCL, right? Because I think this is also another angle. I need to pick up the right people also from UCL, because they're very interesting people,
absolutely.
right?
Absolutely. You've got some seriously smart cookies in there, mate. They're really smart.
And they're definitely, I think, those people are really very interesting. Of course, we just have them on a right scale, and also, obviously.
I'll get you involved. What I'll do is, the night you came was me just showing you the methodology I use to differentiate. That's all that is, really. But as you can see, they enjoy it, and I get a very good feedback from them, and they ring me and keep in touch with me forever. So I've always got a network of really smart students around, which is great. I love that. But they do another thing, which is they also do a night where they have to do a presentation, an exhibition space, showing all their ideas. And you can come with me and go around and talk to them, and then pick out the companies that you think are interesting and the people that you think are interesting, and then introduce them to your business. And that's a good way of you getting a very, very successful company. Now, what I did at Fitch years ago, I went out to all the universities in the design industry, Trent, Kingston, Glasgow, all of these guys, and I got a whole batch of young guys that came in the sort of late 80s, early 90s. They all came to visit. Do you know what? They're all running that company now. They are all absolutely top dollar creative guys running a world-class global brand agency, and I employed them. So they send stuff to me all the time, and you know, I'm their hero because I plucked them from a college studio, and they've all risen to massive heights. So it's all good stuff, isn't it?
No,
Anyway,
definitely.
I'll speak to you soon. Okay, so I've just got to do one thing.
No problem, no problem.
I'll catch up with you at 4:30.
Definitely,
Okay?
definitely, no problem. To one more investor, guys, also my friend, actually, kind of colleague, he's also interested about, you know, are you interested for investors? He asked me the question. I said, why not, right? So let's hear from him what he has to say.
Anybody that's not there, we'll look at what the deals are and stuff like that.
Okay? Perfect. I'll speak to you at 4:30. You know, thank you, Neil. Bye now. Bye. Thanks, bye. Meetings, longer meetings. Hello, Sandeep. Sandeep, sorry. Yeah, I'm good. Sorry, you know, you called me and I've been, you know, in and out of the calls as well. You know, sometimes it's just this unfortunate thing, right, being at home. How are things going? Good? Yeah. Okay. Hi, Sandeep. Hello? Yes. Yes, 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 I can hear you. No, I can hear you. Yes. Some of the things what he's asking. So I got an idea about automation and data side of it. I did ask Steve if he can able to give some kind of a quick rundown, but I said, yeah, I can get something out, Sandeep, to you and also him by the weekend, at least an email summary, and then also you have an opportunity to draft or change, and then at least in front of her, right? I think looks like I think it's kind of coming up quickly, right? Based on what you said last time in April, it might be sometime in May, right? Coming up from her. Is that right? That's what I didn't get that from him, but yeah. Yeah. Yes. Hmm.